Hello and welcome to another YouTube video. As promised, we're going to be going every day. So here I am again. It's the same setup. It's morning time. I am actually having my first coffee of the day today, and I might as well give it a go. It's really good. It's strong, just the way I like it. There's quite a lot that I want to get through today, and I thought to myself, what would be a good video to make, as I didn't plan ahead. And then I thought to myself, why not open up a random page in my journal? I'm not going to tell you the date. We're not going to go that far. I'm opening up quiet enough as it is, I think. But why don't I open up a random page and read something from a moment in time and really try and get as deep as possible into how I felt. And I'm not sure what's written here underneath me. There's 3 pages, but we're going to go through it. And I'm going to take it as I go, I suppose. This is all written down here. I'm not gonna lie, this is making me feel a little bit uncomfortable because I'm literally reading something from a time in my life which was extremely difficult. But I think looking back on it and understanding that we're not there anymore, I'm not there anymore, will help, and in the end, this video will be worth making. Let's just get started. I don't want to live in a hole anymore. My life isn't real. I am living someone else's life, and I don't know who I see when I look at my reflection. I don't know who I have become. It feels that maybe I never knew who I was to begin with, and that is not a matter that's easy to navigate around. In fact, it's the most complex, confusing, terrifying thing that I am coming to terms with. Terrifying for the fact that if I don't know who I am, then who makes my decisions and how can I trust myself? At my core, there is me, but that is me full of questions which I have no answers to. I try to formulate something, but it blows away like the wind, as my unknown to me self takes matters into his own hands and destroys every ideal, everything meaningful and dear to me. Sorry for that. It feels as if my life is me constantly starting from scratch anew. My foundations almost sink to the bottom of the ocean, and each time before I resume this mystical, confusing adventure, I feel like I am trying to retrieve that foundation. How do I stop sinking? How do I stop being my own worst enemy? And why do I turn into my own worst enemy? Why can't I become a friend to myself? Why do I hate myself? I know this to be true, as if I was a friend to myself, I would act differently, but somehow I always lose myself. I have to slow my mind down, but also learn how to slow it down in complete chaos. Not when it's easy to slow it down, like in this moment. Different times will come, and I will be a different person in those times. So how do I hold true to myself? First of all, I need to start telling the truth. I lie not only to myself, but to others. They aren't hurtful lies, but this is something that must end. This week, I will aim to speak of nothing but the truth. Whatever lies I have made or created, I will brush off into the past. But my new self must only speak of the truth. That is my opinion. And I need to face the consequences of that truth, the good and the evil. If I don't take full responsibility of my life, I will keep sinking. I haven't lost everything. I still have a part of my mind, but this other part can't be trusted as it keeps bringing me back to rock bottom. I need to go to war with it. I need discipline, resilience, courage, a lack of fear, and to give my heart, blood, sweat and tears into forging the man I know I can be. Less external, more internal dialogue. There's strength within me, but I can only find it if I look for it. Courage is simply an act despite fearing that act. Discipline will set me free. At the end of this week, I want to be in a different mindset. I want to gain my strength back. Have more clarity, awareness, less anxiety, more focus and presence. I will do this by meditating, writing and reading each day, along with daily exercise of any sort and a clean diet. I will carry myself with more belief in my rebuild and view myself as the hero who is rebuilding, creating, reshaping himself. So there's a lot to take away from that. I'm sorry for the pauses when I was reading. Sometimes it's very hard to read my handwriting as I write quite a lot, and I've pretty much journaled nearly every day of my life, so I usually go through very quick. Sometimes I write on the laptop, sometimes on my phone, sometimes in the notebooks that I have quite a lot of notebooks, and I didn't know what to expect when I was opening up this page, but I knew that this time in my life was extremely difficult for me, and it made me this anxious version of myself, which when I look back on, I want to help. And one of you might be watching this video now and you might need that help yourself. So I don't know how long we have for me to speak now, because the camera might just die, as my storage on my phone is still something that I need to figure out. I'm just going to have a bit of coffee, and then I really want to delve as deep as possible into not only my mind now, back then, but also some actionable steps that we can take. This isn't easy, so that's exactly why we need to do it. I said that I was tired of living in a hole. I didn't want to live in a hole anymore. That I was living someone else's life. And that I don't know who I see when I look at my reflection. I don't know who I have become. It feels that maybe I never knew who I was to begin with. I think we can break it down piece by piece. And I think that we can try and delve as deep as possible into each section. Or up to the point where my camera dies. And if it dies, I'm very sorry. But we're going to try and get as deep as possible into this. I was obviously at rock bottom, and I didn't see a way out. When I journal, and this is a little bit deeper into my writing journey, I started writing years ago. So I've always made time to write as much as possible, even when I was in better places, but also when I was in places like this. I said to myself that I don't know who I've become and that I don't want to live in a hole anymore, right? Let's just try and break it down piece by piece. I think it would be ideal for me to speak about what I was going through back then. But this is my second YouTube video, and I really want to start small and build up. I don't want to I think that that's a little bit too far out of my comfort zone right now to be speaking about certain events in my life, as I'm not sure who's watching this video, and yeah, that can happen sometimes when we are in a place where we feel like we've lost everything and we feel like nothing makes sense anymore, nothing matters. We oftentimes think to ourselves that we don't really know who we are anymore. And maybe a certain event, could be a traumatic event, could be betrayal of some sort, it could be a lot of different things, you know? It makes you lose confidence in yourself, and it makes you lose belief in yourself. It makes you not trust yourself as you're doing things now and you're thinking things now, more importantly. I think the actual thoughts that come into your mind during those times where you're at rock bottom, where you're in a dark place, they're your own worst enemy, and they make you believe that you're someone you're not. And oftentimes in my life, I found that it isn't even necessarily me and the way I'm acting. I always try to do my absolute best to stay on top of certain things. It would usually be my mind and my negative thoughts, my overthinking, and my want for a solution in that moment that would make things even worse. Oftentimes I knew exactly what to do, and you saw from the actual journal that I even answered my own questions. I was giving myself direction while I was journaling. I didn't just write about the place I was in, broadly speaking, but I was trying to offer myself some sort of help in that moment. And oftentimes in the past, that would have been simply for the fact that I didn't have anyone to talk to, or so I told myself that I'm on my own with this and I don't have anyone to talk to about it. I need to deal with this. I'm a man. I need to get my fucking shit together. Nobody's coming to save me. I need to save myself. This is what I need to do. I need to do it on my own. And I need to reflect on why I'm the piece of shit that I am, why my thoughts are controlling me, why I'm making certain decisions, why I'm not doing the things that I know are necessary. And I need to get a fucking grip, because if I don't, what the fuck is going to become of me? What's going to happen if I don't put the right systems in place, the right strategies, the right plan in place for me to get out of the situation that I'm in? What's going to happen if I don't do this? That's oftentimes my thinking during those sort of times, and I usually blame myself for being in those situations, even though not every part of it necessarily might be my fault. I try and live by everything is my responsibility. And even if something external happened that affected me in ways which are outside of my control, something external happened and now I'm in this dark, dark place, for whatever reason, it is my responsibility and only my responsibility as to how I react to that situation. What am I doing from myself to get myself out of that situation? What parts of this situation are my fault? Where did I go wrong? What mistakes did I make? Where did I fail? Where did I close my eyes and not see what was right in front of me? And oftentimes I'll get an answer. And that answer stings, because we don't want things to be our fault, especially if external factors affected the situation that we're in. We want to find excuses and we want to blame something external outside of ourselves for where we are. And that is one way to think about it. And that is something that has helped me a lot. But it's not always that easy, right? And that's the point. It's not always that easy. And that's why I don't want to make videos where I only give you the final answer. I think it's better if we break it down and really ask ourselves what we are feeling, why we are feeling a certain way, and not ignoring certain aspects of our lives and of our emotional state, I think is a dangerous place to completely ignore how you feel and only focus on what's in front of you. I think that without even noticing, that can change your mind in ways that you don't want it to change. I done a course. It was a Jordan Peterson self-authoring course a while ago. In this course, you delve into the past and you create a plan for the future. It truly helped me. I was trying to do it all myself, but I downloaded this course. I think it was like €26. I don't know how many dollars that is. I think that's like $28, $29. And I found that there was a lot of... So my camera died, my storage was full. So I actually just transferred the last video onto my laptop and it's right in front of me. And I can see how tired I look. But it is what it is. It is first thing in the morning. And honestly, I don't really want to think about any of that nonsense. It doesn't really fucking matter. At the end of the day, this is something that I really want to get into. I think that this is worthwhile. I started the Jordan Peterson self-authoring course is what I was trying to get to, and I told you the price there. It truly helped me in the sense of looking into the past and really delving as deep as possible into things that I noticed back then shaped the person that I was, and it was terrifying. It was a tough experience, even answering certain questions on the course. You break down your life into epochs, and what that means is you break down your life into different chapters, say, and you really try to delve as deep as possible into who you were back then and different events, different experiences that shaped you and made you who you are and made you maybe build some sort of defense mechanisms, things that caused you anxiety, things that caused you trauma, things that caused you to be a certain way. And those certain things might affect you today without you even realizing, because that's what trauma does. It was extremely terrifying going into the past. I was always scared to go into the past. I used to be... It used to be something that I didn't want to revisit. There was a lot of pain. There was a lot of suffering in my past. And I'll get into that one day, probably. But the point is that I was trying to avoid it as much as possible. And I would live in the past. I would go through my days living in the past a lot. Past mistakes, past failures were just on the surface. But things deeper than that were things that I was trying to avoid. I was trying to look forward. I was trying to move forward, take one step at a time and never look back. That was my mindset for a long time. And I noticed that a lot of it was coping. A lot of it was me trying to tell myself that what happened is gone and it doesn't impact who I am today. And I noticed very quickly how wrong I was and how much of the past was actually having more of an impact on me than I ever thought possible. So in this course, you really had to look for answers. The questions are formulated in a way that I haven't seen before. And I had to really look deep inside myself, and that was terrifying. That was tough. That was extremely tough. I was doing so much writing. I think I was writing 18,000 words a day. And how I know it was 18,000 words a day is because there was usually 6 questions a day that I was answering, and each one of them was about 3,000 words. So I found that initially when I was starting to write, none of it was really coming onto the surface for me, but the deeper I got, the more writing I was doing, the more I was getting into it, the more I realized that there were cycles, that there were dots to connect as to why I am the way I am and why I react to certain things the way I react to them. And it was eye-opening, and I felt this weight lifted off my shoulders when I realized that maybe I am a certain way because of the things that happened to me, because of the things that I had to go through. And it wasn't easy, but it was worth it. And I wanted to get into that, as a lot of the time I would face the same problems in my mind. I would face the same obstacles, the same challenges, and I was questioning, why is this happening? Why do I keep repeating this cycle? Why do I keep feeling as if I'm starting from scratch? I thought I figured this thing out. I thought that I'm on top of this thing. I thought that that's behind me now and it's not going to affect me no longer. Well, I was very wrong. And it's only until I really, really tried my absolute best to revisit that I started seeing some changes. And these were extremely slow changes. It wasn't overnight. This took weeks, months. And that is when I got into deeper and deeper writing and deeper thinking about a lot of different things. So for a long time, I was a deep thinker, going through my days, thinking about the questions I was answering, the things I was writing about, and I was really trying to delve as deep as possible into those things, and it was very uncomfortable. And for a long time, I don't even think that I was present, because I was living in the past, but in a sense, dissecting the past. So I would go on runs, extremely long runs. I'd run 30Ks some days, and I would try and get my mind into a state where I was able to think about those things. And a lot of the time, that's what I would do. So I would listen to some piano music and I would do a bit of deep thinking. And then I started getting into podcasts. I started getting into a lot of psychology, a lot of studying was happening at this stage about the mind and how the past can affect your mind. And it was eye-opening to me. And I started understanding a lot of things that I didn't understand before. And I think that that was necessary for me to find certain answers. So going back to the journal, I said that I don't want to live in a hole anymore. And what that means is that I didn't want to keep revisiting the same place over and over and over again. I just wanted to be set free from what once was. And that was extremely difficult. And me saying that I never knew who I was to begin with, I now realize that a lot of that was simply for the fact that I didn't know exactly why I kept revisiting certain events, certain experiences from the past that were still affecting me. Who am I? Why am I this way? Why is this affecting me so much? I'm looking around and I don't see anyone being as affected by certain things as myself. Is this normal? Should I feel this way? Should I ignore it, and should I just try and move forward without even stopping and thinking about why this is happening? I don't think that the right move there was to stop and ignore it and brush it off like it's nothing, because now when I look back, it is those times in my life when I was going deep inside my mind where I found certain answers that I never knew I could find. And a lot of that is from writing, but a lot of it is from meditation. A lot of it is from building good habits, exercising, and really taking care of myself. But it's not just that. It goes a lot deeper than that. And as you can see, I had to go extremely deep into why I was the way I was. And it's very difficult for me to break it all down in one video. So that's why I'm going to be making videos every single day. We're going to try to get to the bottom of a lot of different things. And I have certain answers now. And I have certain things that I've learned over the last couple of years, the last couple of months even. This year has been extremely difficult. This year has been one of the hardest years in my life in a lot of different ways. But the fact that I spent the time really trying to understand myself, really trying to learn about myself, really trying to study my own mind, I just found that now I have the tools to deal with a lot of different situations and a lot of tools that I wouldn't have had in the past. And that has helped me so much in terms of dealing with setbacks and challenges and obstacles and different things that still come up. Life is problems, and the way I see it, problems are blessings. And when you have a problem, you should be grateful for that problem. And I'll explain to you why I think that. If I have a problem right now of staying consistent with my running journey, I should be grateful for the fact that I have this problem, because I could have no legs. I could have been in a car crash and now I can no longer run, and that would be my problem. I should be grateful for the problem that's right in front of me. I should be grateful for the fact that this is the problem that I have. You're fighting with your friend, or you're fighting with your girlfriend or your boyfriend. You should be grateful that that is an issue that you have, because you have a girlfriend, you have a boyfriend, you have a friend, someone who loves you, someone who cares about you. It could be a lot worse. You could be alone. You could be on your own with nobody who cares about you, who gives a fuck about you, who is there in your life that wants the best for you. So you see where I'm going. Every problem is a blessing, and that helps quite a lot as well, just having that mindset. Anyways, we really need to get through this a little bit quicker, because this video is going to be about 3 hours long if I'm not careful. And I have a lot that I need to get done today. But this is interesting. This is very interesting. And I don't want to rush through it either. I'm just looking down on my journal. I'm just trying to get to the next part here. I think that I've broken down the first part as well as I could in this moment. Obviously, none of this is scripted, so I'm just speaking to you as I would be speaking to myself or someone here in the moment, except I'm not getting any feedback. I'm not getting any answers. So I'm trying to create my own feedback in my mind. I'm trying to say something and almost imagine someone bouncing back with me, back and forth, answering my question, or saying even, oh yeah, so then I can continue and I can get to the next point. And it's very, very difficult to do that. I'm not used to speaking to the camera directly like this. Even looking directly into the camera is a challenge. But I think that even, you can probably guess that it happened again. But yeah, I was getting to the fact that it is a challenge for me to do this. But I'm taking this challenge upon myself. I've wanted to be able to speak in a more articulate manner for the longest time, and this is the only way that I will get good at it. This is the only way that I can see myself challenging myself to become as articulate as possible and as good with my words as possible. I find now that doesn't really happen as often as it used to, and that is something that I actually practiced for a very long time. And what it was me simply trying my absolute best to think and pause instead of saying and I used to do it a lot. One day I will find an old video from a few years ago where I was trying to speak to the camera even for a minute, and I couldn't stop making that same mistake over and over again. Anyways, we're going to try and get into this. Every single time this storage is low, I have to upload everything onto the laptop. From tomorrow, I will be on top of this, and there will be no more pauses, as it sort of ruins the flow of the video and it sort of takes us off track a little bit. But the next part of the journal was that it feels as if my life is constantly starting from scratch anew. My foundations almost sink to the bottom of the ocean, and each time before I resume this mystical, confusing adventure, I feel like I am trying to retrieve that foundation. How do I stop sinking? How do I stop being my own worst enemy? And why do I turn into my own worst enemy? A lot of the times when we're in that place where we feel like we're in that storm, that darkness, that place of confusion, uncertainty, and that place where you're not sure how what steps you're going to take to get out of it, we start to question the meaning of life, and we start to question what truly matters to us and why we're doing the things we're doing. And oftentimes we can talk ourselves out of doing the things that we were doing before, as we no longer find any meaning and purpose in those things. And that is a very, very difficult situation to be in. So with the Jordan Peterson program, what helped me there was creating a future and writing about the future and exactly what I want in the future. So it's not only delving into the past, but also the future, and really knowing exactly what you want, what you're aiming at. And that is exactly why I believe in act with aim. It's simply for the fact that an aim is key for me to be able to maintain myself and be able to stay focused and stay present and understand that there is a goal and there is something that I'm trying to achieve. But also understand that without action and without acting towards that every single day, no matter how I feel, no matter what situation I am, no matter what obstacles come or arise or are presented right in front of me, I have to act. I have to be the man that I would want to be, and that is a man of action. That is a man that has an aim, has a purpose, has meaning, is responsible, is reliable, and disciplined. That is the things that I've been aiming to be for the longest time, and I was always a version of those things, but now I'm in a place where those things really are or are becoming my true foundation and something that I'm building my life from. So what I was getting to was that if you're in that place now where you feel like you're constantly sinking to the bottom of the ocean, that is exactly the time in your life where you lose that meaning. And when you lose that meaning, you start to question everything that you're doing. That's why it's very, very difficult to navigate through this life if you don't understand your past, you don't understand your future, you don't understand what makes you the way you are. That's why I preach and I speak about writing so much to everybody that I talk to every single day. No matter what someone's going through, I always tell them, write about it. Get a different perspective on the situation. You're feeling this way now, but ask yourself, how will you be feeling next month? We oftentimes get in these motivational states where we want to change our lives, and sometimes that can happen at like 2 a.m. where you start to feel inspired and you really have this almost creative belief in what could be. And you really believe it in that moment. You really look at what could possibly happen if you acted a certain way. And you genuinely envision it in your mind. You can see it. It's right in front of you. You know exactly what it is. But then life hits you in the fucking mouth as soon as you wake up in the morning and go about your business. Because life is hard. Life is full of obstacles, full of challenges. That's why I always say these things. That's why I always preach about the fact that life is suffering. And it's best to simply assume that life is full of suffering. Because if you don't, when that suffering arises, what are you going to do? Who are you going to be? How are you going to act? How are you going to carry yourself in this world? That is exactly why I say the things I say. You must be prepared for an all-out war with yourself. You must be prepared for those days where you don't feel like getting up in the morning and doing what you know you're supposed to do. I'm trying to connect a lot of different dots, and I think that I need to have a bit of coffee and I need to get a little bit more present. Why can't I become a friend to myself? Why do I hate myself? The reason why I hated myself was I let my mind control a lot of my actions. That was what a lot of it was. I knew I should be doing one thing, and I would excuse myself from doing those things because of whatever the fuck else was happening in my mind. That was exactly the reason for that. I really hope this doesn't die too soon. I have to slow my mind down, but also learn how to slow it down in complete chaos. Not when it's easy to slow it down, like in this moment. That is true. A lot of the times when you're going through a difficult moment, the best thing you can do is write, in my opinion. But you could also stand in the corner of the room and really look at whatever room you're in. You'll find that you get a different perspective on the situation. Let's just say you're in your bedroom right now. You walk into the corner of the room and you analyze everything in front of you. And you realize that there is complete chaos everywhere. Your bed's not made. There's clothes everywhere. You haven't wiped drawers. You haven't taken care of that bedroom. And in that moment, you start to realize that your mind is the way it is because you haven't done the exact same thing for your mind. Your mind is complete chaos because there are things, small tasks, small things that you haven't been on top of, and you've let your mind now get into this state of chaos. It's just like a bedroom. A bedroom is a great metaphor for your mind, your environment. That's why people say make your bed. That's why people say take care of your environment and make sure that everything's in order. If everything's in order around you, everything in your mind will also be in order. And it's not that your mind will suddenly feel free from everything that you're going through, but the point is that if your mind is a little bit clearer, if you have a little bit more clarity, you'll be able to make better decisions and you'll be more open to moving forward. You've cleaned your bedroom. There's the rest of your house. It's the same thing with your mind. You've cleaned that bedroom in your mind. Now you can move on to slightly bigger tasks. So that's another lesson there. Different times will come and I will be a different person in those times. So how do I hold myself true to myself? That is me speaking about the future and how there are going to be things that will happen, that will arise, that will be presented in front of me, that will be challenging. Who will I be in those moments? Yesterday, I was speaking about laying out your clothes the night before you're about to go for a run, being organized. What excuses might I make tomorrow? And this is exactly the same thing here. What will be presented in front of me in the future that might challenge me? And what sort of mindset, what sort of mentality will I have when those things happen? Who will I be? How will I react? You really need to know these things. If you don't know these things will absolutely crush you. That's why it's key to understand that when those things come up, you know exactly what the fuck you're going to do. Will you know exactly what to do, even if you know exactly in your mind what you might do? No, because life is full of surprises and things might happen that are completely outside of your control and completely outside of things that you could have ever imagined. But the point is, let's go as deep as possible into the worst thing that could possibly happen. Someone you care about deeply dies. It will happen. We're all going to die one day. We're not going to live forever. Who are you going to be when that happens? Are you going to be able to live with that? Move forward from that? Because you're going to have to. You're going to have to get through those things. You're going to have to understand that life moves on. And who will you be in that moment? Is that moment going to sink you to the bottom of the ocean and you'll be in a place that you will never be able to get out of again? That's not what you want. There's going to be other people in your life that you're going to have to take care of. There's going to be people in your life that you will be responsible for. And if you're not careful, if you don't look inside of your mind and really ask yourself how you're going to be when those things happen, or how you want to be, you will never be prepared for that. And you must be prepared for all the suffering that will come up in your life, because life's going to come down on you like a ton of fucking bricks. And you got to ask yourself, am I ready for all that fucking suffering? I've made that video before and it still holds true. I'm getting very passionate here, but a lot of this is me speaking to myself. A lot of this is me speaking to a part of myself that I care about. And in a sense, this is therapy. I'm having a therapy session with myself and with you, if you're watching this video. I know a lot of it is extremely unorganized in the sense of structure here, but I'm trying my best, and I promise you I'm trying my best, and I'll get better at this. I promise. I will improve. Every single day I'm going to be trying my absolute best to improve this craft, improve how I speak, how I answer questions, and how I get to the bottom of things. I might not always be able to get to the bottom of everything, but I will try my best, and I will try my best to help you, and I will try my best to have a bit of structure so you're not completely lost with the things I'm trying to say. But hopefully you're getting something out of these videos, and something that you probably knew before, but something that is a reminder for you to get back to yourself and to get back to being the best version of yourself, that version of yourself that will accomplish those dreams, will accomplish those goals, because you're capable and you can do it. And if you look inside of your mind, if you really delve as deep as possible into why you are the way you are, you will figure a lot of things out. And hopefully we're going to be able to do that together. I really want to give you action steps too, but I will get better at that also, and I will try my best to have some sort of action step after each section of every video, if possible, so you know exactly what you need to do. But I think that you're getting a lot out of this video in terms of writing. Writing is extremely important. Meditation is extremely important. Being organized, having order, understanding what to do when you're in chaos. Those are things that hopefully I'm getting across here, as that's my goal that I've had with this video. Next part. This week I will aim to speak of nothing but the truth. Whatever lies I have made or created, I will brush off into the past. but my new self must only speak of the truth. A lot of that is the person you become when you're not holding true to yourself, when you're lying to yourself, when you know there's things you need to do, but you're not doing them, and you stop trusting yourself. You know what the truth is, but you're running as far away from the truth as possible, and the truth is that you're not facing yourself. The truth is that you're not doing the things that are necessary. And in those moments, in those times, what can happen is you carry yourself in a way that is completely the opposite of the true you. And you might even start to lie. You might even start to say things that you don't believe in. You start to make excuses. And those are the types of lies that I'm talking about here. You excuse yourself, and excuses only sound good to those making them. You've probably heard that before, and it's true. It still holds true. And all of your excuses are lies. None of them are true. If you want something, you go and fucking get it. You can excuse yourself if you want. And you can tell yourself that you can't do something. And you might have, or you might create 1,000 different reasons as to why that might be true. But is that who you want to be? Is that who you want to become? Is that the way you want to carry yourself in this world? Or do you want to be the person who says, I want to do this thing, and no matter what the fuck happens, I will achieve this thing. Nothing standing in my way will stop me from being that person that I envision. That's who you want to be. And you know that's who you want to be. Next part. Bit of coffee first. If I don't take full responsibility of my life, I will keep sinking. I haven't lost everything. I still have a part of my mind. But this other part can't be trusted, as it keeps bringing me back to rock bottom. I need to go to war with it. I need discipline, resilience, courage, a lack of fear, and to give my heart, blood, sweat and tears into forging this man I know I can be. I was going to break this part down, but I pretty much broke it down as I was writing. You see what I mean by writing? In the beginning, I used to write about things that I was going through, and it took a very long time for me to develop certain tools, certain skill sets that eventually allowed me to give myself solutions. And you can see the power of writing every single day. You can see the power of writing down what you're going through every single day. Eventually, you'll get to the point where you will find solutions. And imagine you're doing that every day. Imagine every single day, no matter how you feel, you write. You'll find your days to be completely different from what they once used to be. You'll find that now you're reminding yourself every 24 hours of exactly what you need to do. And even more so when you start writing more. Sometimes now I can write in the morning, in the evening. Imagine how many reminders I'm getting of my mission. Imagine how many reminders of my aim I'm putting into my mind. And if you believe in the law of attraction, which is a topic that we can get into another day, you're attracting your best self. That's what you're doing in that moment. You are reminding yourself of your goal, of your aim every single day, and you're attracting yourself. So that's something that can help also. There's strength within me, but I can only find it if I look for it. Courage is simply an act despite fearing that act. That's all that courage. Thank God I have a laptop. So we were getting to the fact that courage is simply an act despite fear in that act. And that's true. What that means is that it's not courage if you don't fear what's in front of you. And if there's something that scares you, if there's something that is right in front of you and you don't even know how to begin facing it, that's what courage is. Courage is facing it despite being scared of it, despite having that fear. So if you want to become a person of courage, understand that it is normal to be scared. It is normal to have that fear of facing what's right in front of you, but that is exactly what will make you a person with courage. And isn't that cool, right? Isn't that cool? It's not necessarily the strong person who can challenge every single thing in front of them and the person who can face everything in front of them without any sort of struggle. It is the person who is most afraid of those things, but goes for it anyway. And isn't that you? Isn't that me? Aren't there a lot of different things that you're scared to do? Aren't there a lot of different things that you're scared to face? But all it's going to take for you to be a person of courage is facing those things. Imagine how you'll feel one day if you look back on your life and you faced every single thing that you've ever feared, that you were ever afraid of. Imagine, just imagine. Imagine the lessons. Imagine the stories. Imagine the person you will be. Imagine the way you will carry yourself, and imagine the impact you will have on the people around you. How much more you'll be able to take care of them. How much more you'll be able to love them. Those are things that you really have to ask yourself. Discipline will set me free. At the end of this week, I want to be in a different mindset. I want to gain my strength back, have more clarity, awareness, less anxiety, more focus and presence. I will do this by meditating, writing, and reading each day, along with daily exercise of any sort and a clean diet. This right here is literally almost every single time exactly what I do when I'm going through a very, very difficult time. And no matter what that time is, no matter how many times I've gone through this cycle, this is exactly the protocols that I would go back to every single time I was going through a difficult time in my life. And I'm not going to sit here and say that I've been meditating for the last 8 years and I haven't skipped a day. There were times where I was meditating for 3, 4, 5 months every single day, and then I would stop. I would get to a place in my mind where I thought to myself, you know what? I don't think I need to do this anymore. I don't think I need to look inside myself the way I've been looking inside of myself every day. It takes up time, right? And you really have to sit back and you really have to think every single day. I thought to myself, I know what I need to do and I don't need this anymore. I've already done this. But the truth is, and it took me a long, long time to realize, too long in fact, that this is something that I need to do every day. And I don't know what everybody else is like. Maybe you have a lot more mental control than I have. And if so, you should be very grateful for that. But if you're someone who struggles with your mind, staying consistent and working towards your goals every single day, this is exactly what you should do. And I don't see why you wouldn't do it. And if your mind is telling you that there's no point, that is exactly when you know you need to do it. Get into the next part here. I will carry myself with more belief in my rebuild and view myself as the hero of my own story who is rebuilding, creating, reshaping himself. You are the hero of your own story. And the more fucked up your situation is now, the better the story will be. The more dragons you have to slay that are right in front of you, the better your story will be. Remind yourself of that every single day. remind yourself of the fact that you're rebuilding yourself, you're reshaping yourself, you're creating someone who doesn't exist right now. Imagine who you will be on the other side of this. Imagine the hero you will become. No matter what you're going through right now, the person you're becoming is stronger than anything you could have ever imagined. The person you're becoming is exactly the person who will have so much more than you ever thought possible. A lot of that is mental strength. A lot of that is that mental resilience, that awareness of oneself. A lot of that is understanding yourself. And if you have that, you'll be able to see people in such a different light. You'll be able to help so many people that you care about. You'll have all of this work put in on yourself, that when someone around you, someone you care about, is going through something, you'll be able to help them. And imagine that feeling. Imagine being that rock for those people. Imagine being that person that they can rely on. That is who you want to become. And that is who you will eventually become if you take care of yourself first. You'll be able to love people like you've never loved them before. When you love yourself, when you care about yourself, when you do the things that you know you need to do, when you trust yourself. And trust will be built if you do the things that you know you need to do despite how you feel. So that is me breaking down the journal here. I think that I'm just going to talk until the camera dies, basically. And I'm not sure how long this video is. There's a lot of clips. So basically how I will put this together is put it all into one on CapCut, and then I will just upload it onto YouTube. I think this is easily over an hour, which it is what it is. I wanted to create something today. I have a bit more time. I have a lot of things that I need to do for the day, but I didn't want to be creating any videos with any cuts, simply for the fact that I want to challenge myself to speak to a camera for an hour, two, however long these videos will get, and trust myself in that process, trust myself in the process of speaking for that long. And if I had to rate this video out of 10, I would give it like a 4. But that's simply because I'm my biggest judge and I judge myself for absolutely everything. But it is what it is. There are moments in this video when I reflect and I look back where I was speaking a little bit too fast and I lost my way with my words and I lost a little bit of that structure. So that's something that I need to improve. There was times in this video where I went a little bit too off topic, although I think that I've done a decent job bringing myself back to the topic that I was discussing initially, which is the journal and which is the journal entry from a long time ago. I really enjoyed this. I really enjoyed going back into an old part of myself, although I didn't really go into detail as to what exactly I was going through. I don't think it matters. I think what matters is the fact that we're all going through different things in our lives which take a lot out of us and things that we're dealing with at the moment. So hopefully you got something out of this video if you've watched up to this point. Hopefully you understand that it's okay not to be okay, and it's okay to be in a process where you're rebuilding yourself, you're reshaping yourself, you're creating a new version of yourself that doesn't exist right now. That is completely normal. It's fine. It's a good thing. You're building yourself anew. You're building someone who will be a lot stronger than the person you are now. And there's a process to that, and it takes a lot of time, and you will fail, and you will repeat the same mistakes over and over and over again. This process isn't going to be easy. It's not going to be something that is going to be a smooth journey. It's like Sisyphus. You're going to be pushing that rock up the mountain, and then it's going to keep fucking falling back down on you. You're going to start from the very bottom, and you're going to keep bringing that rock back up to the top. Because every single time you get back to the bottom, you're going to have new lessons. You're going to be a different person, and you're going to have all of the tools necessary, not only to bring that rock back to the top, of the fucking mountain, but to slay the dragons that are right in front of you, the things that scare you the most, the things that haunt you when you can't sleep at night. And I know you can't sleep at night. I know that you're thinking about a lot of different things, and I know that you're afraid. And I want to tell you that that's okay. I want to tell you that it's normal. Be patient with yourself. Understand that this is a process, and you will figure it out day by day, week by week, month by month, year by year. Don't think that this is something that you need to figure out in the next day or two or the next few weeks, or that if you don't, your life's going to fall apart, because it's not. As long as you're taking one step in front of the other every single day, you'll be fine. Work hard, have discipline, stay consistent, do your meditation, do your writing, do your gratitude, exercise, really take care of your body. Your body's a temple. Be careful what you put in it. Don't eat junk food. Really try to eat nutritious food if you can. You'll see how different you feel. I'll probably make a video about nutrition one day. But these are just simple things that you've already heard about doing before, and maybe you do a lot of these things already. And I guess then that is just a reminder that whatever you're going through right now is fine. It's okay. Calm down. Everything's going to work out. This is not going to last forever. And we're in this together. I'm not going anywhere. I'll be making videos every single day. If I miss a day, I'll try to make it up and make two videos in a given day, but I really want to make it a goal to upload these every single day. I think even looking back in a few years' time and watching myself speak and watching myself talk about certain things, it's going to be cool and interesting. And yeah, I think that's it. I don't think there's more to say. I think that I should probably close this video off rather than yesterday's video where the camera just stopped rolling and it stopped in the middle of a conversation. Let's do one more thing before I go off of this. We're going to type in quotes for hard times, and we're going to read 3 of them just to remind ourselves of certain things. And a lot of these quotes might be similar to what I was talking about, but these are going to be our affirmations. Right, so my camera died again, but it is what it is. I've got a quote here. When you have exhausted all possibilities, remember this: you haven't. I like that one. I've never heard that one before. When you have exhausted all possibilities, remember this: you haven't. Don't worry, I'm not going to break down every single quote, although I had the want to add something to that, but basically I was just going to rephrase the quote in my own words, like you do in a school essay. ... was born in 1941. In 1941, ... was born. That's basically what I was going to do there with that quote. Anyways, let's get to the next one here. I really want to read you something useful and something that I would actually relate to myself. But I typed in hard time quotes onto Google, and some of these are all these colorful ones you know exactly what I'm talking about. The ones you would have seen on Instagram back in 2010, so. This is one is simple. You've probably heard it before. Tough times never last, but tough people do. How true. We're going to do one more before we finish this video. If you're going through hell, keep going. I think that's a good one to finish off on. I'll try to find some deep poetry and some deeper I'll chat to you next time.